right. Good morning, everybody. We are live and good to go for today. So happy Tuesday to everybody. Welcome to another Engineering the Markets. My name is Jared. It is September 13th, 2022. And we are waiting and certainly anticipating with some bated breath the volatility that is likely to occur in the next 30 minutes or so. Pretty much as I'm wrapping up my session, we will be getting our main data drop this week, which is, of course, our CPI readings. For those unfamiliar, we see this once a month, and it's a reflection of some of the increases and decreases across different industries and sectors relative to inflationary rates. You're looking for what areas of the market are experiencing maybe price increase and ultimately the inflationary pressures that we've been discussing this year, along with how is that changing month over month and year over year. So here I am on the trading terminal. I've got the Tuesday calendar on the economic tab highlighted, and near the top, you'll see things like your core inflation rate year over year, month over month, estimates that the market is offering, what they expect these numbers to come in as, previous readings, and then, of course, previous readings had their own sort of comparison. Last time it was July, and we're going to be looking at August, both compared to July, along with August of last year, so August of 2021. So couple of things for this. We've seen some market behavior that is notable in CPI days. One, we've seen the market sort of respond initially, usually pretty volatile, maybe anywhere from like 2 to 3 points on the S&P. So if you're looking at holding a position into the CPI, be aware that some stocks can start to really get moving around this time. And two, we've also seen that sometimes during the actual intraday session, whatever pre-market trend or bias forms, a lot of that can be given back, if not the entire thing. So it's one of those days to be flexible, certainly to look for opportunity when it shows, and be aware of the volatility range. I think this is an important concept that as a day trader, you want to always kind of be prepared for, because not only can you get wider pullbacks or expansions in whatever trend has formed, but more notably, setting up those buy or sell setups can take longer and have wider price ranges. So, if you're anticipating a move, sometimes you may need to give it a little bit more room. Sometimes you may even need to size down because you're really expecting a bigger move or a bigger target whenever the setup triggers. So, wider range, wider expansion, more volatile is kind of the key concept. So as far as what to anticipate with this CPI, there's been a little bit of a kind of like anticipation that it's going to come up in line, if not cooler than what the market's expecting. One thing that was notable yesterday is we didn't actually hear from the White House. And we've seen a couple of previous CPIs where the White House sort of knew ahead of time it was going to come in a bit hot, and it actually prepared the market for the data. So we don't have that clue that it's going to be hot, but the fact that we don't have anything from the White House indicates that it might be in line, if not cooler, than what the market's expecting. Obviously, that's speculative. We're going to see the actual data in just a moment. So where is the S&P, and how much range does the S&P have for this announcement? First things first, expected move. We haven't hit any of the bounds. It's only been one trading session, but just remember your numbers. If you're looking at the weekly expected move, upside about 416.4, SPY 4164 SPX, and then downside 3971. We're still in sort of a bullish context. We even have our, let's see, this would be our third gap up open. And so far, the market has been riding pretty strong on this momentum. Bulls have kind of kept things intact over the past couple of days, but we are seeing maybe some minor divergence starting to form, and it's showcasing that there's probably a little bit of preparation, maybe some profit taking going on under the hood. So let's talk about this location just a bit. Yesterday, we discussed that the oversold play has pretty much exhausted. As far as where oversolds land, they often land at value or VPOC type ranges. And this is really the idea of like a low to high, high to low kind of play. Anytime you're doing mean reversion, it kind of depends on what studies you're using, but ultimately the purpose of a mean reversion play is to get you back to the middle. Whether you're overextended or underextended, you're usually kind of playing towards this central area. And while this is not the total VPOC for the SPY, it is probably the year to date VPOC. The market is pretty much back at the highest aggregate value for the year. So major, volume and kind of, I would say, fairness in regards to the bulls and the bears. This is a pretty neutral zone for the S&P. Another thing we had discussed was the idea that if this bounce were to kick off at about 390, and this is obviously the level from last week, we were highlighting how important 390 was to the market. Now that we have a bounce underway, we're looking at similar retracement levels for this bounce to potentially end. So our fib level from low to high, that retracement was about 61.8, and that brought us to about 389, 390 just to make the conversation easier. If you flip this, and I can easily just take the study, anchor it to the high, and then move our low point here, what we're looking at is a similar move, albeit a smaller high to low anchor point. So if you are playing the long and really just looking for that conservative target, one, you probably made it. VPOC is fairly conservative for oversold plays. Two, if you're going for 61.8, there's not too much left. 415 to anywhere from 415 to 416 would be your final target for that move. And if it goes further, we're kind of looking for a pullback first. We'll obviously need to see what happens today. But 61.8 coincides with some June resistance. It coincides with some of these topping price activity and just the stall that we got previously. And like a lot of reflection trades, you don't really expect more from the market when you set it up. Now we have more information. We can look for more if the market allows. But whenever we were trading back at 390, the idea was that if we bounce from here, the target is 61.8, just simply based on where we're bouncing in the first place. So it's, don't have too much, I would say like looking behind bias, or I guess retrospect is 2020, having a little bit of perspective is 2020. We knew about these targets ahead of time. It's about setting up the trade that takes advantage of it. If you're playing towards those targets, that's when you start to profit take. If you're expecting VPOC to be your target, that 413, 412, 413, you place butterflies there. And really, you're just looking for the market to return in some fashion. Obviously, we did it pretty quickly, and that was a very nice bounce play. So now that we've gotten that trade out of the way, what's next? There are some higher targets if the market wants to continue this bounce. I would say our main retracement line is another ideal target. Once again, I would expect a pullback before that happens. And now that we're in these June and August levels, be especially careful today if we run into the highs. If that 61.8 turns out to be another inflection point, then the June highs, along with a little bit of resistance back in August, that could easily stall our trend. Basically the bounce can end somewhere in that area and our pullback can start. At which point, we'll be looking at another 61.8 retracement, and we'll kind of look at where a pullback could set up. The idea that if we're going for some bigger weekly trend change, the bulls have to keep proving it to us. And right now they've proven it on the bounce. They've proven it off the lows. What they need to do is never lose 390. At this point, the weekly trend has to form somewhere in this area, and we do need to break 430 for us to be in a weekly uptrend. So all those concepts, we've discussed a few times. Some notable things from yesterday. Actually, that's about where I want my level. Little bit of price divergence relative to volatility. This is something that one of the members brought up. Market was heading higher. VIX volatility futures were also bouncing. Nothing significant. Obviously, this is just a candle's worth of data, but a little bit of divergence here. And what we're thinking for today and for the week is that a little bit of hedging is going on. People are likely going to start protecting the downside potential, maybe start buying a little bit of out of the money put premium. And while we're looking at volatility, we might also be looking at skew. There's a little bit of an uptick yesterday in skew, and you'll see it here. Excuse me. This is all just like intraday or one piece of data, but it's showcasing that the market's probably preparing itself for whatever this week offers. So the week has a lot of economic data coming out. CPI is kind of the big one, and I would say that we're seeing hints that the market is not necessarily going in all bull ahead. There's definitely some protection and some downside risk in this week. So what was the last thing I was going to look at? No, that's not what I wanted. There was something else I was going to pull up, but I'm kind of blanking on it right now. But anyway, some of the driver of this bullish activity we've been seeing has been the dollar. And I bring up the dollar as more of a risk correlated asset. The idea is that if we're seeing a lot of relative US dollar strength, it can put pressure on equities, but maybe not as a general statement. It's more of a focused pressure, especially in a lot of your commodity focused industries. Things like materials and industrials can be hit pretty hard whenever you have a relatively strong overall dollar. And what we've been seeing over the past few days is a pretty significant reversion. Anytime a new high or a new low is made, regardless of what the chart is, you're always looking to see how strong that expansion is. Does it hold? Are pullbacks still getting bought, or is it some sort of market test? And I would say that at least prospectively, with what we have now, the dollar doesn't look like it's holding up that high very well. The weekly has confirmed a reversal. We're pulling back into a previous high. And while we haven't necessarily lost the trend, the signs of a trend possibly changing are certainly there. The most aggressive, failed high is certainly getting established. And there might be a little bit of market perspective in regards to some new activity, some new bullish possible positioning around this, along with the actual effect this can have across international trade. One of our members asked, what does the dollar index really showcase in regards to what does it correlate towards? What does it inversely correlate towards? And we try and describe it sort of as a general concept because the complexity here is pretty vast. For one, this particular index is tracking US dollar relative to 6 other currencies. And I had to actually look them up because I tend to forget all 6 of them. But you want to be thinking things like the euro. I'm trying to pull up my list. There it is. The euro, Japanese yen, British pound, Swiss franc, Swedish krona, and the Canadian dollar. So really this is a representation of how well the US currency is doing relative to 6 other fairly well-established and highly used currencies, along with countries that we, as the US, do a lot of trade against. So, forgot the Cuban peso. As far as I'm aware, I'm not sure if this indice is tracking against the Cuban peso. If it is, then I don't have information against that. So, anyway, so our US dollar strength means that as we do trade internationally, anytime a foreign entity wants to purchase something from the US, they have to transfer their currency into our stronger US dollar, to actually finish the transaction. And over time, especially if this continues to rise, this can cause a lot of price increase relative to certain materials that we're obviously exporting, along with bringing new materials in. That supply demand model starts to shift. We've obviously seen the impacts of that, albeit there are other factors and things like oil. Crude prices have been heavily affected by the strength of the US dollar. We've seen the opposite effect occur in our metals. So our gold, our silver trade, if you're putting up some higher time frame correlation relative to the US dollar, all you have to do is maybe bring up something like a comparison study and bring in the US dollar. It's pretty clear that the period right now of gold strength is under pressure relative to what the dollar has been doing. There's almost clear pivots relative to highs and lows. I mean, one of the most obvious ones is here, and this sort of current low that we're defending this year. So there's obviously some divergence in certain asset classes and obviously certain commodities. The dollar made a fresh high. Gold did not make a fresh low. So the market may be kind of showcasing that, hey, look, the dollar may be showing continuation from a pricing perspective, but certain asset classes are starting to recover. Silver has been one of the more notable ones. Not only has it made the fresh low, but the bounces and the upside on the lows has been significant. Once again, pretty high inverse correlation relative to the US dollar index. And then on a more general note, you want to be thinking things like all commodity classes. Now, this is not necessarily a product that tracks all commodities. This is more agriculture focused. But we've seen some of the pressure on spending power relative to the feed that a lot of these animal products consume. You want to be thinking corn and soybean and rice and all of these exportable things, feed wise. And that obviously has to take into account the pricing increase of the actual animals that we consume. So lean hogs, live cattle, chickens, anything that is a secondary of agricultural price increase. So the reason we look at the dollar so much is because there's so many industries that are affected by it. Whether you're looking at materials, this is just the S&P. Oh, wrong ticker. I'm not sure how that came up. Materials. Once again, there is some correlation with the S&P pivots, but why we look at the dollar so much is because these pivots coincide with multiple asset classes bouncing. Inverse correlations relative to materials. And this is just your classic supply-demand model and sort of economic strength relative to the current macro environment. Whether or not these companies can purchase the raw material and produce products at favorable cost, such that they are perceived as a bullish asset or an asset that is worth owning during this time. One thing that I find so interesting here is I kind of left the compare study on here because you'll notice the divergence that's forming here. The dollar has made fresh highs and is obviously pulling back from them. There's been a lot of just general pivots in the market that are forming relative to this, whether you're looking at industrials, really strong bounces, but the pullbacks are against or divergent the dollar. And this is sort of the bullish case for both the S&P and certain asset classes, whether you're commodity focused or maybe looking at some of the downstream effects that this can have across the sectors that we track. So, I'm probably going to leave the conversation there because it's one of those conversations that you can go pretty heavily in depth. And if you're really tracking it, day to day, week to week, there are some really opportunistic trades that take place, but they trigger on the dollar. The idea is that how can I trust this low relative to trends or continuation? To some degree, I need the dollar to be doing something. And this is why, this period here was such a great long for the market. The equities were able to recover so much ground relative to these highs and lows. And it's why we're focused in on what's happening now. The dollar did make a fresh high, but it's not holding. And that's important. That's an important change in what has been one of the strongest uptrends in this market, the US dollar. So obviously we're going to see how this changes, and obviously we're going to see how this leads into new trades. But for the future, whether you're using this as information this year, whether you're trading over the course of your lifetime, having these correlation coefficient indices, dollar, bonds, interest rates, and the like. How does crude strength and how does natural gas strength affect the perception of our economic climate? The risk on, risk off behavior of corporate debt. Once again, this trend line it's definitely on the verge of a breakdown, but the trend line's holding for now. It's all about when you enter, the idea of sort of the risk you're taking and how can you trust a level? How can you trust that low is not going to be taken out before you can get out of your trade? It's all about that. And usually these inflections are pretty significant. They occur hopefully at key levels, and then, the follow through is what we're trying to take advantage of. We're not trying to necessarily say it's going to be a low that's never going to break, but it's a trade. Now the idea is that the target is available for us to take advantage of. So still a higher high, higher low, maybe the real clue. Yeah, and that's exactly it. So the dollar made a higher high. Did the dollar make a higher low? Not really. I mean, it's still pulling back from its highs. What's the low that it needs to break? This one. The bigger trend, I would say that breaking this is important because it's definitely the smaller trend. But the one that's really going to matter is this one. If we can get away from the highs and even just retrace, the markets has a decent chance to continue rallying. The market can find its ground much easier just because there's not pressure on it. This is the idea that, less pressure on dollar strength leads to equity performance, even if it's not sustainable. It's a trade. So hopefully that makes sense. This is exactly what we do when we see things like changes in bonds. If TLT makes a fresh low, if /ZB makes new lows, which it hasn't yet. This is the 30-year technically future product. If the notes crack their lows, then something has changed. Obviously we're giving up price levels, and the performance after that low is made is what to focus in on, because it could be a false low, could be a new expansion, or we could be in a range. We could bounce just as high as we did previously. All that's important. And when or if it happens, we expect similar movement relative to a previous inflection, relative to a previous low and the performance after the low. It's all about when it can happen and what to expect. So all in all, I don't have a lot left for today. I don't think there's really much left to cover today. Obviously, there's some stocks that are starting to wake up. We talked about the bounce in Apple being slow off the starting line, but it had a lot of upside potential. You can see just how far Apple moved yesterday, and it kept the market healthy. It kept the market long, even though we saw some divergence across some other industries. These targets have been met, and we're coming into CPI. So I'm going to go ahead and let y'all go here. Obviously, prepare for what's about to drop. Trade safe today. Remember your volatility today. You don't have to be first in a setup and experience the massive sort of price movement that we're likely to see. Expect bigger moves today. I think today is the kind of day where we can go for larger pullbacks and larger expansions, relative to whatever trend forms. So trade safe, and we'll talk more tomorrow. Stay tuned for pre-market prep.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to PreMarket Prep. I hope you're having an amazing morning. Hopefully you had an incredible day yesterday. Good morning, Norm. How are you doing today?
Hey, good morning, brother. I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing good, my friend. Doing good. No, we got some. What time does data come out? Is it 8:30?
Minute and 15 seconds. We will have
Perfect.
CPI and core CPI data. Yeah.
Excellent. When that comes out, Norm, let's give everybody an update what we expect today. Obviously, the big one coming out in just a couple of minutes here.
We're up a good amount, 3/4 on the SPY. We're up on the Qs. I anticipate that's people think. I think that's people placing bets that inflation might be a little lower than expected. It's going to be wild if it's hotter than expected, but with fuel down as much as it has been recently, We'll see. So, like I said, we had the small business index out at 6 a.m. 8:30 comes month over month and year over year CPIs and core CPIs and federal budget at 2. Got about 30 seconds. Market should go wild. Let's get that SPY up. Switch that bad boy to a 1 minute real quick. Give us a little more detail for the wild ride we might get here. Go back to 5. That's sorry.
That's all good, man.
There we go. Oh, monthly.
Here we go.
There we
5.
go. There we go. 10 seconds, guys. Gene Machine, the best way to get it quickly is on the squawk. Click trading terminal up top and then turn on the volume button at the top of that screen, and you will get the audio squawk that is very, very immediate. I don't know, but that's a big drop.
Yeah.
I don't hear it yet.
Ooh, looks nasty so far.
Whoa.
Let's see.
Damn. That was why I was saying don't take that bet.
Yeah, look at this. Kiwi cap short everything, he says. Ouch.
Yikes. All right. Yeah, I think the headline number, the CPI, was expected to be negative 0.1, so actually deflationary, and came in at 1% month over month. Is that what I heard?
Man, that is
that's up 1/10. Okay. I when they're throwing out 8.3 versus 8.1, yeah, just the fact that it was higher. All right. Well, there we go. That's going to set the tone for the day. It's going to take a little bit to shake things out here, guys. Obviously, our gap down list is going to grow as the market continues to drop. That was a quick 2 percentage point drop there, brother. From 7 or 0.75% up to over 1.25% down in less than a minute.
Yeah. No, that was fast, man. That was fast. So that's obviously, as Norm said, it's going to change the way things are here on our list.
It'll take a few minutes to shake out and see how this goes and what we have for the open. But we've got extremely heavy volume coming in. We're about to hit 2 million shares pre-market in the SPY. That is very, very high.
Yeah, and that's all that 1 million.
And look at how fast that gap down list is growing.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we had 3 tickers here, 4 tickers before this.
When I signed on, we had 4 tickers on the down and 4 on the up. Now we've got 3 on the up and
massive.
The whole S&P 500 on the down.
Yeah, all our usual suspects are going to start populating here, guys. You already see them: Google, Snap, Baba, Tesla, Rivian, Microsoft. I mean, the whole gang is here. So we'll give this a little bit to shake out and see how things turn out here. In the meantime, let's quickly look at some of the stuff we had yesterday while we give this a little bit of time to just kind of get going here. We had Oxy on deck. Let's get our 5-minute Oxy dropping, right? We're going to see this a lot. All these companies here are in the red already, guys, down 2%, 3%. I mean, it's going to be interesting. Oxy yesterday, not great trader, guys. We've seen better from this. A quick drop and pop there. And a lot of tickers had this move yesterday at the open. You're going to see that in a few of these. All right, it's just overall market stuff. Meta, nice little drop here, pre-market, and then right before the bell, that drop, and then it takes off. So that was actually pretty good if you were patient here. If you did not let this candle kind of set your expectation, you could have had a good opportunity there on Meta. Another drop right back to the lows of the day, and then a little bit of some sideways action as we moved here. And I'm showing you guys the wrong screen, I believe. Here we go. Here we go. Sorry about that. I was showing you guys the gappers list instead of my actual screen. Look at Meta dropping now. So our usual suspects are going to be dropping heavy here. Here's Tesla, which will be in play today. Tesla actually did pretty good yesterday. Nice bull flag move over here. Almost a ABCD pattern on the 1 minute for sure. But you can see how clean this was with the pullback. Again, Tesla usually giving you an aggressive pullback there. Apple was amazing, guys. I mean, if best stock we had yesterday, This thing ran up so well. It's back towards almost the opening price of yesterday. Had a great pre-market activity, had great volume, and it did reflect that into the market open. I mean, this is what you want to see on a stock. So Apple traded very, very well. Roblox, not so much, a little bit choppy on the price action there. And Nvidia, same thing, not great neither. It's just a lot of sideways action. Apple, and surprisingly, Neo surprised us yesterday. It did trade very well. It gave you a couple of things on here. You had opportunity if you were scalping in the morning to get a nice little pop early on. And if you're a trend trader and you're holding on for a bit longer, you have to be patient through this here, but it did give you a nice breakout here over to 21.95. So overall, on the daily, I just want to show you this because in Neo is very interesting the last couple of days. Again, just look at the rally this thing has had. 1645 hitting 22 almost in 4 days. So this thing has been pushing really nice, especially yesterday with a nice day there. So that's what we had yesterday. I'm sure today, as you can see, this gap down list growing, and other tickers leaving our gap open towards the downside. Besides these two low flows that we got here, we'll get into those in just a sec.
Yeah, it's growing rapidly. And we've come off the lows just a little bit, but we'll see. I don't anticipate a huge bounce here. I was looking at these as you were going through yesterday's trades, and I did notice core CPI month over month was up 0.6 instead of 0.3. So that, we've had gas prices, and although they're still quite high, they've pulled back from what they were, earlier in the summer and in the late spring. So that core CPI takes a number of things out. One of them happens to be it takes out food, shelter, energy, and used automobiles. So that the fuel, the energy part in there, the core CPI started ticking down about 3 months before the headline CPI started coming down. So to see that tick up is not a good sign.
Yeah. Agree 100%, guys. We're seeing the spot here now, 5 minutes in. We're seeing the next leg coming down here. So we'll see how this ends up. Again, very weak start to everything here. As you can see, everything dropping down on our gappers list. Let's take a look at the things that are still managing to stay green. Let's see what's happening there. So obviously they got their own thing going on. And usually when this happens, it's going to be low flow stocks that just have probably no reason to be up here, right? It's just being pushed up pretty aggressive here. Let's start with AKRO this morning. They're up 115%. Hanging around $13, $12, and now sitting at 26.38. So pre-market action looks very good, guys. So for a stock that is a low flow at 23.4, this is some good pre-market action. Good volume. It is holding here, even though everything else is dropping. So that's interesting as well. Good sign. Yeah, biotech. So you guys already know when we talk about these biotech, how careful you have to be.
All three on the up list, these low floats are biotech. So they'll move wildly. Be careful.
Yeah. I like AKRO this morning. Pre-market looks good. Let's see if that volume can continue into the market open. If you're going to be trading pre-market, guys, remember there's no volatility holds. Remember that things can be more gappy than they can when, market open. So just be very careful. They can move a lot more with less volume, which sometimes could be a little scary. NRBO, 12.8 million shares flow. This one is up 20%, but doesn't have enough volume. 212,000 shares traded so far. That is not what you want to see on a 12.8.
That's a pretty wide spread. That's a 32-cent spread. Am I doing? Am I
you
mathing correctly?
Yeah.
On a $19 ticker, that's a pretty decent size spread, 2%.
Yeah. And it's just for information for any new traders, you don't want to count these, right? Keep in mind the size of the order. This could be someone with like 10 shares here. So if you have one share, right? If you have 100 shares, you might end up getting filled mainly around here, 998. Right?
Only that, if you try it's not a very expensive ticker too. If you were to buy a couple hundred, you're going to have to go all the way up there.
Yeah.
So watch out. You get some slippage.
Be very careful. All right. So that's only two things on the gap up list. Everything else in the red this morning, including leading the way.
We need to do this show fast so we can not have any more added to it.
Yeah, I'm going to start now with the one that was up yesterday quite a bit, INM. This thing was just up huge yesterday. Very wild, very crazy. low flow. So again, be careful. I think the fund might be over here, down 18.8, 209. Again, I don't think anything fun to see here. Carvana down 9.2. Now this thing taking a bit of a hit here. I don't like the way this trade, guys. So I'm gonna skip a lot of these. I just don't like the way it trades. So
Kept
and
an
they like
eye on it
today.
yesterday, and
Mhm.
it traded very thin. So
Yeah, right.
just
Although it
watch out
moved
on that.
moved pretty good,
Yeah,
but
it
thin, right?
moved, but it was pretty thin trading.
Yeah. I didn't keep an eye on it. So I'm going to skip through a lot of these guys are going to be just like this that are moving just because the overall market, the percentage might be a lot higher than stuff that I want to actually look at. So I'm going to be moving pretty quickly through this. So our play, our what is this relay? Yeah, so our lay here down 8%, 235,000. Do not like the volume as much. I actually want to go down to some of our favorite ones, which I'm going to be looking for here. Going to be looking at, you know what? I know what they are. Going to be looking at Apple. Right, Apple's going to move with the market. Had a great rally yesterday. I'm going to be looking at AMD. So all our usual suspect, AMD, Apple, even Nvidia are going to be on my list today because nothing really has a catalyst that's gapping down here. A lot of these things are moving, but the catalyst is the market, right? So look at Nvidia. I'm going to add that to my list as well. Look at this drop, man, and we're continuing here too. So Nvidia is
I
going
was
to
just gonna
be
say we're trying to
on deck.
break new lows right here. Q's has
Yeah,
already done it.
yeah.
SPY's hanging on by its fingernails onto the side of a
Ooh,
high
ooh,
rise
ooh.
right now. But
I'm gonna put Oxy on my list as well. I think that's a good one to keep
it's
an eye
about to
on. And then
go.
I'm
There it goes.
just
There's new lows.
new low. I'm gonna look around, see if there's anything else. Yeah, I'll stop here. Everything else here is gonna be just stuff that we see in the past. But these four, I do like quite a bit. Norm, anything that not here on this list that you like this morning?
I mean, I'm a little hesitant to throw these out because we're gonna have plenty just trading either indices or proxies for the market, like an Apple, which you already have, an AMD. Goldman Sachs, GS, if it gets volume, it trades terribly pre-market, but they did have news they're laying people off. So I don't know. And then I know Twitter has news today going on around the Musk lawsuit and all that stuff, so it might get active at some point, but nothing really right now that's not going to be on this list.
Yeah. All right, so I got those
You
two
might
on
pretty
there.
much throw a dart and hit a ticker to trade right now.
Exactly. You could try your favorite list today.
Of
You
any
could
of
definitely do
the
that.
stuff we've looked at in the last 6 months.
Yep. Guys, anything on your end that's not moving like a usual suspect? Maybe something that we haven't covered that could be interesting. I see the pivot alert throwing Snap, and a couple of you guys throwing out Snap. Again, Snap, I don't know. Moving with the overall market, I'd rather watch something else than Snap. So we'll see. Heading over here, Walmart. On a day like today, Walmart could be tough.
It has no volume right
Yeah, it
now.
has
He
no
was just
volume.
pointing out that it really is the only thing that hasn't experienced a drop. Experienced a
They
little bit
don't
of a
move.
drop.
Yeah.
Walmart can benefit from these inflationary pressures in a sense. I mean, they're hit on
Yes.
one side if they have to absorb some of the costs because their margins aren't huge. But I think they're kind of past that. When everybody else is raising prices, they can get away with raising a little bit and staying in line on margins. If inflation persists, you have people that might shift to shopping there that wouldn't normally shop there to try to save money.
Yeah.
If they're having to spend more on other things, so that sometimes for the discount retailers,
They
same
can
thing
do
goes with
well.
the big lots and those kinds of things. The Dollar General and all that stuff. But
yeah, if you guys remember, what killed Walmart was their inventory management, right? That's what really hurt them big time. I'm sure they learned their lesson and they'll probably do better.
And that was that was the previous earnings report that came out 3.5 months ago. The one they just had come out in August. They traded down huge, and then that one actually they popped back up because it seemed like they had fixed some of their issues. But if you look at that May huge slide, that's where they
this was inventory,
that's where they
right?
released, and then it's actually it's a little bit further to the right than your other smaller circle. It's that gap up. That's when they released their most recent.
Yeah,
right there.
Here.
Yeah. So it was a little bit better, but that, like you said, that was an inventory management problem and not readjusting based on COVID buying patterns.
Yeah,
so we'll see.
So again, Walmart not a good one for today, but we'll see what happens. So a lot of stuff is going to move better with more volume. It's going to overshadow that one. What else, guys? What else you guys have? Twitter's on deck. That's good. Tesla, yeah, Tesla for sure is going to be moving with the market. Again, you guys know how I feel about Tesla. You got to know how to trade this thing. The pullbacks can be very aggressive, so be very, very careful. On a day like today, I think Apple's a good one to keep an eye on. If you find Tesla to be too crazy for you, okay? Oracle, what's Oracle doing? Did they have earnings? I know their earnings were coming up towards the tail end of earnings season.
Yeah, I believe they did last night.
Yeah, last night they had earnings. Again, this ticker, guys, just doesn't trade very well. Even with earnings, it could be a little spotty at times, very light volume. So again, I think on a day like today, you can find things that look just slightly better than this. So, but if you're looking for something with a catalyst that can move different from the market, this could be it. I just don't know if they're going to give you the move that you're looking for. In INM, this one here is the low flow from yesterday. Yeah, just be careful with this. I think the fun is over on this thing. We don't have shares for sure on it. Not that I'm suggesting you do that, but second days are usually pretty tough. If this thing is going to come back up and be a contender again, you want to see it above 18, above 19, above 20. And usually that happens in the second or third or fourth day if it's going to do that. Here you might have a choppy day today. Just be careful. Just from seeing these low flows over and over again, they tend to do that. If this catalyst is going to be strong, they'll flap around here for a little bit and then they'll come back up and retest these highs. That can be a good opportunity if it has volume again, right? We've seen a couple of low flows do that lately, but right now, this does not meet something I want to be watching closely. All right, I don't see many other tickers being thrown out here. Let's take a look at what the SPY is doing at the moment. We are holding on, as you said, Norm, barely to this 403 here. Let's see if we can get a little bit of a bounce as we move forward here. AMC plummeting.
Bounce?
Yeah, it looks like we might get a little bounce here. Yeah, AMC and everything else plummeting. Apple, AMD,
More
NVIDIA,
confident than I am.
Oxy. And well, no, I'm not saying it's gonna bounce. I have no idea if it's gonna bounce or not. I have no idea, man. Who knows? All right, Oracle, no good for now. Let me see what else we have. All right, good, guys. I think we're all set. It's going to be an easy day today as far as picking your watch list. Again, not a lot that we have to go through. Another one coming up on your gap up list is How L.
I don't know about that.
Well,
I'm going to disagree. This is more like the fat kid going to a buffet that has the most delicious foods of all time for
I mean,
tons
of options. Yes.
Too many options.
Yeah, if you look at it that way, yes, absolutely.
This is the Cheesecake Factory menu market style.
I hate going there, man, with a big group of people. When you have this company meetings and you go to that place, ordering would take forever because it's just people going to like 19 pages of options. Yeah. How L, guys? Low flow here, 13.1 up 2.3, no volume. Oh, horrible pre-market action. This is crappy. Be very careful with this here. All right, let's go ahead and look at our announcements for this week and today. I'll go over to bearable.traders.com/webinars or click on webinars here, and you can see what's coming up for the next 2 weeks.
Absolutely. All right. Like he said, bearabletraders.com/webinars. Every Monday, we've got onboarding and technology. That's with Carlos, 8 p.m. Eastern. That class is now actually opened up to everybody. So you don't even have to sign up to be a member. You can come to that class. You sign up on the homepage on that front email capture that you saw just a moment ago, and you will get a reminder and a link to come to it on Monday, a couple hours before it starts. So if you're watching on YouTube, check that out. Tuesdays, we have strategy. Tonight, it is Tuesday. We got Thor, 8 p.m. tonight, talking about VPA, the where. And then next week, 5 p.m. Eastern, Eamon talking about managing an open position. Wednesdays, we dedicate to psychology. This week, we've got the wonderful Creda at 5 p.m. Eastern, talking about finding your mental edge. And then next week, Mike will be talking about analyzing your psychology journal back at the normal 8 p.m. time. I'm sure I'm going to get emails about that, by the way, guys. But I'm not trying to fat shame anybody. As you guys know, I could lose a few myself or a few dozen. All right. Don't forget about mentorship with John, 11 a.m. on Thursday, 4 p.m. with Ed, and 8 p.m. with Thor. And also don't forget about StockTradingSimulator.com, our free web-based replay simulator where you can go 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to hone your trading skills. If you're watching on YouTube and haven't been in the room, you'd like to try out the chat room for a week with no obligation, you can do so. Use the promo code PreMarket24 when you sign up for the intro membership. It's a one-time payment. It does not recur. It'll give you 7 calendar days, 5 trading days in the room. And if you'd like to become an elite member, use the promo code READ50 to get half off the elite annual and a free one-on-one coaching session with Dr. Kenneth Reed. Now, Zach from Niagara, which for some reason my brain always to me reads Zach from Nigeria, but it's Niagara, very different climates. He's saying not a huge fan of days like today. Everything's so extended at the downside. I agree with you 100%. When the market's gapping down 2%, I do find it difficult to trade. You're muted, brother. Still can't hear you.
Sick. All right, how about now? Can you hear me now?
Yep, there you go.
Okay, there we go. Perfect. Sorry about that. All right, let's take a look at Apple here, guys. So early to do levels, but I agree with what you guys were saying. You know, some traders find this type of market difficult to trade. You know, it gets extended, very different style. So we'll see how things play out.
There's a lot of downward pressure. I don't see much optimism out of that report that came out.
Yeah,
especially we got a Fed meeting next week. Who knows what's in store. We've come up. Pressure is definitely to the downside. I have a hard time wrapping around it when the overall market's gapping down 2%, that it's going to go much further. That's where, I mean, it often does.
As far as meaning, it'll probably do some,
it's
sideways, right?
It's purely psychological.
Yeah. All right, guys. I mean, we are all set. Right now, I have Apple, I have AMD, I have NVIDIA on my list, and Oxy. I think these 4 are really good. And I'll be waiting to see what else sticks out that might be worth taking a look at, right? We have our possibles here, Tesla, GS, and also Twitter, which don't have much volume right now. We'll see at the market open how those trade depending on their news there. And just looking at our gappers list, trying to see if there's anything that's sticking out that might be worth watching. How about Mara today? Mara today on a day like today could be good. Down 9.2, 919,000. This could be a good one today. Normally they're not in play. I like the drop they're getting here. Their daily looks interesting. This could be one that we put in our possibles list. But I'm not gonna go crazy adding to this list, guys, because I know that at the market open, the whole list could be different, and there could be other things that I want to put on here. So I'm just gonna wait on that, see if anything shakes out of this list that we have here. In the meantime, guys, any questions so far? Any questions you guys might have, we will love to answer those. If you're watching Tesla with, might want to watch Rivian. Is Rivian's doing a deal? Did the deal with Mercedes, right? Is that correct? Or Volkswagen? I forget who they partnered up with. Something about Europe and that created. What was that? Mercedes, right? Something doing trucks in Europe, if I remember correctly. Down right now again, just similar to everything else, guys, right? Down right now, 4.2. I'm not sure how you tie these two in, meaning Tesla and Rivian, but they're both just moving with the overall market. What is the secret to life? That's a great question. Andrew just came from Burning Man, so he probably has a better answer than we do. So we'll wait for him to get on and give you that answer. Gustavo giving us SPCE. No, not today, man. And it hasn't been in play in a very long time. This ticker is not the same anymore. This is no, for sure. It's probably one of the least things you want to watch, especially on a day like today. Are cams invalid with news? What's that? Cams invalid with news so aggressive? I'm not sure what the question is. Cams. What do you mean cams by that? I don't understand that part. No, do you know what that is?
Camera pelvic.
Oh, is that what it is?
I don't really trade them, so
I don't trade them. That'd be a great question for
strategy.
Thor. Yeah, you want to ask Thor that question. I don't really trade camera pivots neither. So, any news behind Mara? If there is, it's not really going to be as important as the CPI numbers that just came out, right? If there is, and I don't think so, because if you look at it before, it wasn't really gapping up or down. It's just kind of going sideways here. So I don't think there's any individual news on this. I could be wrong. But even if it is, I don't think it's going to be bigger than what we have going on right now. Oh, man.
For those of you guys
AKRO.
just rolling out of bed asking what the hell happened at 8:30, that's the CPI data
Yeah.
came out, inflation hotter than expected.
AKRO has other plans here. They are breaking out from the pre-market
do.
highs, man. They are on fire. Again, guys, can't stress enough.
If that's your thing.
Very careful if this is your thing. Exactly. Very, very careful. It's all about timing. If you get caught in the wrong time here, you could be down $2 like nothing, just like that, right? So again, can't stress how careful you have to be. All right, what else do we have here? SQQQs. Yep, those will be in play. Positive drug trial for who? Who has the positive drug? Oh, AKRO. That's the news. Okay. Yeah, it's doing pretty well right now.
They've got a big short float. I mean, big. It's not big in the sense of what we're seeing on some of the ones on the downside list. Obviously, like the BBBY that gets insane, and apron at 66%, but 20%, 19% for something that's coming up 153%. You know, somebody's waking up having anxiety attacks. So
no question. Speaking of BBBY, I'm waiting for this to update to see what it looks like now after that massive run they had a few weeks ago, but still at 102, still really high. I wonder how accurate that is, man. That is a very high short flow interest.
That would have been from August 30th? No, excuse me, August 31st.
31st. Okay.
So yeah, you got data that's 14 days old at this point. I don't know.
Who knows? Maybe people got in short here. Right? Who knows? Can you guys explain what a short flow is real quick and why it's important? Yeah.
So short float is the number of shares, percentage of the float that is held short overnight. And it is FINRA, the regulatory agency, requires that all brokers twice a month on the 15th and the last trading day of the month count the number of shares held short by their customers, and then they have a few days, several days to report that to FINRA. FINRA takes that data and then releases it. So that's what short float is. The reason it's important is because it can cause volatility, and in some cases extreme volatility. We use the term here short squeeze fairly lightly, frankly, when people are talking about something might squeeze. They're looking at Apple. It's not really a short squeeze. It's just some day trading shorts got stuck and they're rushing for the exits or whatever else, and when a buying frenzy comes. If you want to see a real short squeeze, go take a look at GME when it did its thing in the early part of the year 2021, or the one that a lot of people that use in textbooks and such is Volkswagen. Just Google Volkswagen or VW short squeeze.
Oh, yes. And that was a big one.
It was a whole series of events where a whole ton of people were short, and it caused an epic, there's one right there. So,
yeah. And this is a very, what makes this crazy too is that this was unexpected. Like we never saw something like this prior to this, as frequent as we see it now. Now it's like, any given day,
a lot.
Any given day, this can happen, right? On these meme stock. But this was like the originator of this meme situation here. And people got killed. Not just people, firms, guys. You look at stories of actual firms, people with big money, banks, and just
Melvin Capital essentially went out of business over this.
Yeah, got crushed.
Lost Citadel a ton of money.
Yeah. This was not expected. This was the big one because nobody knew that, hey, this can actually take place like this. Now people are more prepared. They know that, hey, this can happen. But that was a big one. All right, guys. So far on our list, trying to see if anything else popping up here. Coin could be good at times. I actually like Coin better than Mara. And they can be decent here. I do like their daily. Yeah, they'll probably put Coin here. Let's see what happens. Norm, anything on your end? I know you kind of just waiting to see what shakes out here, but anything that you see that
I'm gonna wait.
I'm gonna
wait, and I'll have a couple of these. The Apples, AMDs, the kind of stuff. Nvidia's a good one.
Yeah.
Nothing specific though yet.
Yeah, agree. I like NVIDIA's daily too, man. It's so clean after this gap down. So you can see you got to come some really nice clean levels, which you can actually start doing levels now. Let's do that. Let's do some levels for our usual suspect, and then we can always add on to this as we move forward. So let's go to that. If you guys see something else popping up there, let me know. Just shout it out. But in the meantime, let's do some levels just to be ready for this. So right now, as you can see, NVIDIA leaving this area that we had here, nice consolidation between, not consolidation, but nice area of resistance there. We couldn't get above 145 and close the gap. And obviously, today's action is not going to help it any bit. High of the pre-market, 114.16. So we'll just throw a level there. Before that, before you get to that, from the price action now, you got plenty of stuff, guys. Highs and lows for the last 2 trading days. That's going to be more important. Previous day closes up here, confirming this resistance. So again, I think that's a lot you got going on up there. Towards the bottom, we'll wait a little bit here. We're trying to kind of hold or at least slow down the bleeding here at 138.20, and you're going to see a lot of tickers doing the same thing, right? You had the big drop, a little bit of continuation, and kind of saying, okay, we're pretty down now. Can we hold here? So you're going to see a lot of that in the tickers we're going to be looking at next. But if we were to drop from that, the next area of gray support where we originally had dropped from the gap down, right, went all the way down to around 133.51. I'm going to put it higher because I want to use these 3 days where you have a lot more confirmation on this daily level, right? It's a little bit lower here if you look closely, but this is the one that I want to focus on, this 133.51. Right now, looking pretty good. Volume is good, 1.4. I mean, that's great volume for NVIDIA, guys. Down 4.7. Looking nice this morning. Here's Apple, similar situation, guys. We're going to see this across the board. Again, the big drop, the continuation, and now it's just trying to hold this this 59.50. But before that, we do have the low of the day from yesterday. The low of the day from yesterday right on this. So I'm just going to keep that there. I'm not going to put the pre-market low yet. I think you're going to have you might be testing this pretty soon here. So we'll see how that goes. If we break down from that, Apple has had such a great run yesterday and the day before. I mean, well, that would have been Friday. Look how beautiful this thing has been. It basically ate up all the gains from yesterday. Now we're sitting here at the gap up from yesterday right now. Let's see how that is going to turn out. As far as that has created some levels for us towards the bottom, highs and lows for the last 2 trading days. So you're pretty set on Apple when it comes to that. Towards the top, you have the previous day close, the high from yesterday as well. And in between here, maybe this area, 161.12. Again, minor support resistance level. Actually, going to the left, you do have a couple of things happening here as well. So a couple of days opening and closing there. This one here as well. I wouldn't put too much weight on it, but it's a good midpoint from the previous day close to where the price action is now. So looking good there. Looking to test the lows from yesterday. Let's see how that is going to turn out. Here's AMD, guys. Great volume, 3 million shares on Apple. That is nice, guys. AMD here, 1.2. Let me tell you this, by the way. Today's one of those days where, again, just trade what you see in the charts, right? Try not to have a bias because that's what usually is going to get you on days like this when things you start trending in one direction and you have a bias. Oh, we're extending, we're going to go back up, or oh, it's very weak, we're going to continue to going down. If you put that in your mindset and that's the way you go into trading today, this can be one of your biggest losing days, right? Because things can just keep going, things can just bounce and be aggressive. So just be very careful. You know, we talked about this in our onboarding class yesterday. We had a great class, by the way, and an amazing Q&A. So thank you for those that joined us for the intro class yesterday. If you want to join us, we'll do it again next week on Monday, and we'll do the same thing. We have a good Q&A and just kind of get into things. Show you a little bit of what the community is like, and just kind of really dive into, you know, the expectations. And we have a whole session just about what to expect. 85%, 80, well, not a lot of people say in trading that 80%, 85% is all your mindset when it comes to trading, right? And it really is. It really is, you know, your mindset. Once you learn the technicals, once you learn the technology, you know, all your platforms, when you have that down packed, you know, you don't make a lot of changes to that, right? But you'd be surprised how many people spend almost zero time or very little time working on their mindset. But they strongly believe that, you know, trading is 80% mental, 80% psychology, right? So you got to look at that. If you're one of those traders where you're focusing on the numbers and your trader view and just printing charts and, you know, and reviewing technicals, and that's all important. But if you're not spending time on your mindset, you know, you could be missing one leg here out of the 3-legged stool. So very careful with that. your mindset's got to be in check. And days like today, where things are running and you might have a little bit of a bias one way or the other, whether you think it's going to bounce, or you think it's going to run, it can create some really big problems. So make sure your mindset is on check when it comes to that. Looking here, guys, AMD, let's do some levels right now. We're stopping at 80, 85. So I'm going to slam a level right on there. And then below that, we're going to look at around 78, a little bit higher than this low here, because the more touches you have on a level, the better and stronger that level is going to be, right? So 78.53 has a couple of things on there. And I love this candle here. Look at this thing, man. This crosses comes all the way down. Tested 78 and shoots right back up. And what it did, it closed exactly on the same on the same price. Man, that is an interesting candle there. So we'll see. That level is going to be a strong one. Definitely looking pretty good this morning here. Highs and lows for the last 2 trading days towards the top. You're pretty much set. David, psychology has been my real challenge around consistent profitability. Absolutely, absolutely. And you see great traders that are just crushing it, and they crush on a consistent basis. Actually, we have the biggest example there is Andrew. Is an amazing trader. You cannot doubt the guy has skills, right? Not only is he smart, he has skills. He has day trading skills. So he has days that he just, his mindset is not straight. He holds on to something a little bit longer from the stop loss, and he ends up taking a bigger loss than what he wants. It's not his skills being, tested. It's his mindset. His mindset was not right for that trade. What we love about Andrew is how quickly he can bounce back, right? It's tough to do that. Bounce back and come in the next day like nothing happened the day before, or even the next trade, just forget about that one trade and come back and still be able to come back green or make a good trade, right? So that's a skill there for sure. So it's all about mindset, guys. Mindset is so important. All right, we're looking at an AMD. We're good here. Let's look at NVIDIA. NVIDIA is down 4.7, 1.5. Again, all of these with heavy volume. Apple 3.1, AMD 1.3, NVIDIA 1.5, even Oxy. Look at Oxy pre-market today, guys, 491. That's higher than usual for the stock. And their pre-market looks like they're actually open. So they're trading very well. I like Oxy. I think Oxy is going to be one to keep a close eye on. I think we might have some good opportunities on this one today. Let's see. Again, today could be a tough day depending on how you trade, but the opportunities are going to be there for sure. NVIDIA here down 4.7, 138. It's the low of the pre-market right now. We're slamming level right on there. Below that 133. We did this already, 147. Yeah, looking pretty good. So this is all done. Trying to hold the low of the pre-market. It looks like we're about to lose it. I'm still going to keep this level on here, guys, because if we drop down to like 138.7, this 138 can still be a level of resistance if we do decide to drop any further. So keep that on there. Oxy right now, 65.24, surrounded by the highs and lows. I don't think you need to add anything else to this. We're looking pretty good here on Oxy as well. Some possible numbers on there. We're looking at Mara. Again, nice drop there. I got Coin here as well. Also looking really good. Both of these are nice today. They're down 10%, down 9.1. So their drop is very big. They had a nice run the last couple of days. So kind of giving some of that back today. I think that's good. Tesla is another one you can watch. Again, a little bit more aggressive, as I always remind you guys on these. Just got to be careful on the number of shares you take. I mean, Tesla's a stock that's not a low flow, obviously, but you don't have to take a lot of shares. You can make your money on the run here, not on the size you take. So very important. GS needs more volume, but they might have a good catalyst today, and Twitter can just go off anytime. We'll see where that goes. AKRO sitting at up 147% now. So this thing, they got a positive drug news, I think was the catalyst. So that is doing very well this morning. Very extended, obviously. I'm not saying that's going to reverse from here. Be very, very careful. But yeah, definitely in play if this is your cup of tea. This low flow is very active today. And RBO, no good. Guys, be careful with this. There's nothing happening right now. Not really in play. All right, excellent. So we're all set there as far as levels. We'll wait for our moderators to throw out their list. 9:07. We got probably about 10 minutes or so to look at some stuff. If you guys have any questions, any tickers you want me to look at, we can definitely do that. He knows how to push buttons fast. Dan, yes. I push buttons fast and don't get the same outcome sometimes. So I want to push buttons fast and be able to get his outcome. Agreed 100%. Okay, here we go. All right, what else do we have here? Okay, excellent, guys. If you have any questions, we can get to them. Should I have one strategy in my trade book when learning, or have more than one at a time? I suggest no more than two when you start out. It's a lot to learn. You don't want to force your mind to remember all these different strategies, Samuel. So if you want to just do two, I think that's my recommendation. You can do as many as you want. One, is fine too. But I recommend two. And in our education center, we have a class. I forget which class, what number it is, but we have a class where we talk about, for example, let's look at Apple yesterday, where you want to focus. If you're going to focus on multiple strategies, my recommendation is, and we have this chart in our education center, is, focus on two strategies is the top, I would say, and focus at a different time frames, right? I would say, between the open, if you want to focus on an ORBs on a 5-minute, 15-minute, even an hour, if you're that type of trader, you can trade from 9:30 until about, 10:30, depending on if you're trading 15, 1 minute, an hour, 10 o'clock, right? So trade the ORB here, focus on finding that one strategy. That's it. That's all you're looking to do. Focus to find that one strategy, because you don't want to be focused on, in this time frame, looking at 3 different strategies. It will drive you nuts, right? So it's just narrow focus, look for an ORB. That's it. Then after that, between, maybe 11 and 12, or, 10:30 and 12, focus on a reversal if that's what you're looking for, or ABCD pattern, or high of day breakout, right? Just focus on, you're done with this, didn't find one, no problem. Now this time frame, focus on one specific strategy. So that's going to help you kind of be a little more focused and more organized, right? Especially as you're learning. Once you learn them very well and you're consistent, you could look at them. You could add pre-market level breakout or whatever. You can add more to it, but start easy first and then work your way up. It'll help you a lot. All right. So SPY, what's the SPY doing today? What's the SPY doing today? Let's see here. We are. All right, we're trying to go lower here, down 2.3 now. Man, the volume is just insane. So we killed the gains for the last 2 days. So we'll see where we go here. We're sitting just at this level right now, this 400. But yeah, man, this is looking very, very weak today. Very, very weak. CPI killed the SPY. Yep, it's exactly what happened. It's exactly what happened. All right, any other questions? How many does Carlos use? As far as what? How many do I use as far as what? You're looking for a reversal on your watch list to the upside. No, I hate reversals, man. I don't trade reversals anymore. I just stopped them. They're I lose so much money on those things. It's just reversals. They just don't work for me. They're not my thing. I like high of day breakouts. I like pre-market breakouts are really good. Breakouts on a daily level, ORBs. These reversals, for me, again, I know great reversal traders like Peter, who does, he has Mountain Pass. It's really nice. I can't trade these things, man. They're so tough. Jared, probably one of the best reversal traders we have. Man, his entries are insane on these reversal moves. Thor takes reversals. Thor's entries, man, I'm telling you, his entries are just unreal. I mean, talk about this guy. His entry here, let's say the SPY was going up, which it was, his triangle will be right here. Right there. I'm like, what is going on here? I mean, his reversals are just insane, so yeah, but I reversals are not my thing. No way. I want to go with the flow. It's just you going that way, let's go that way. But trying to turn direction, and no, it doesn't work for me. All right, guys, we are all set. Waiting for some moderators to throw out some tickers here. We'll see what's happening there. And then Thor is a madman. Yes, he is. These reversals are insane. He is a madman. We'll wait for those for what's happening, and then we'll wrap it up today. Thor says hard day for a list. So that's what's happening. I think our moderators are holding off to see what happens, because right now I have not one of the moderators with their list here. Eamon says the drop ruined everything I was watching. Nothing for today. Thor, his watch list: SPY, Qs, Shopify, Bank of America. Traded the CPI news. Don't like much else. All right. So Mike, you traded already. So nice. Mike took advantage of some of the drop there. We'll look at Jimmy's ticker. Where's Phil? It's Phil. We need Phil's list today. Jimmy's lottery ticket. Apple. American Airlines, Apple, Lucid, Nia, and Piton. Nice. Going to watch the chat room today. That's a good bet as any. That's a good bet as any. All right, guys, we're wrapping it up. On my list, we have, again, our usual suspects, nothing you have not seen in the past. Apple, AMD, NVIDIA. I like Oxy today. I think this will be interesting to see how this overall ticker is going to play out with what's happening today. Megan coming in with her list, Google and NVIDIA today for her. Coming in, Phil. And is that Phil's list right there? It's like 30 tickers. So if you don't know the jokes, I think Phil had wanted to send his watch list to somebody, and he by mistake pasted it on the chat room, and it was something like 30 tickers. He said, "Here's my watch list for today." I guess he was trying to share it with someone, and yeah, it was pretty extensive. So, guys, thank you so much for joining the pre-market prep over on YouTube. Let's check our likes before we hop off. How are we doing today? 157. This is lower than what the SPY drop is right here. If we can help us there to get to 250, we will gladly appreciate it. So help us there, 161. Excellent. Thank you, guys. It does help out the channel a whole lot. So if you like the content, if you like the information we're providing for you, not just me, you don't have to just like me. You can like Jared. Jared is amazing. So he comes in at 8 a.m. Give him a thumbs up as well for waking up so early and putting all that information together, because that is not easy. He's doing it 4 days a week. Yeah, it's a lot of stuff. My job is easy compared to his. So give him a thumbs up over on YouTube. We appreciate him very, very much. Carlos, if you go by the flow, but the flow against your levels, do you take the trade? No. I want to go with the flow of the price action. Okay. So yeah, I want to go with the flow of the price action where the price is going. I want to join the party, maybe a little bit late, right? I want to join the party maybe late, but I want to join the right party, right? That's kind of the way I see it. 207. Thank you, guys. Appreciate that very, very much. And I will let you guys go here. Have an amazing day. Again, remember, guys, can't say it enough. Be careful today. Don't push on something that might not be happening. And yes, it can go lower, and yes, it can reverse from here. Just keep that in mind, that whatever you think cannot happen can happen, and just be mindful of that. A couple of more moderators coming in. So let's take an opportunity to do that. Susan, it has Apple and Oxy, pivot bot alerts. Peter will be looking at, IPO for today, WLDS for Peter. So that is a new IPO opening up today. We'll see what kind of madness that IPO brings. Not a great day for IPOs, right? Kind of weird they schedule that around at this date. So Peter's actual watch list, AMD, Apple, and Oxy, and then secondary list to be determined. So just usual suspects for him as of right now. All right, perfect. Yeah, we're all set, guys. Thank you so much on YouTube. 217. I appreciate that very much. That's a nice pop there. Take care, guys. I will see you guys tomorrow, 8 a.m. with Jared, engineering the markets, and then Norm and I after that. Have a great trading day, guys. Be careful out there.